Today we're spinning the wheel for Bertrand in Call of Dragons, and although I am hyped for his potential, I think the realities of Bertrand right now are a little bit rough. So I'm gonna say that he is not even really a priority for me, but I'm just gonna spin the wheel because spinning the wheel is value, and I'm hopeful that Bertrand will be made strong eventually. Now, what is the problem with Bertrand before I even spin the wheel? And I'll show you the bundle and we'll talk about all this stuff. But the big issue with Bertrand is that he's got really hard-locked synergy with Tohar. Now, I said early on when they were releasing commanders that I was like, man, I don't love when games really hard lock you into pairing the two new commanders together. And that limits your strategic choices. But also if there's a flop or an issue, then like it really makes no avenue exist for the commander, or in this case hero, to really perform at max strength. And I feel like that's the problem we're having with Bertrand right now. So Bertrand makes it so that whenever his legion deals hero skill damage, he's going to gain these stacks of golden mark, which makes it so he will do more skill damage. But the problem with Bertrand is that a bunch of things that you think would make this trigger aren't doing it. So for example, I've heard that you look in here and you could get this talent that makes it so that when you cast a rage skill, you deal extra hero skill damage. That apparently is not giving compound interest. There's a bunch of things that like you would have expected to be really synergistic with Bertrand, and they just aren't doing it. Now, your only partner here to solve that problem is to use Tohar. But Tohar, I'm hearing reports, is not as good as people were hoping he would be because of the way that his skills require you to stand still. So you basically need to stand still and hope your enemy doesn't leave range for the 5 seconds that you're channeling. And although the damage factor looks decent, when you factor in the inability to move and that you have to channel the full 5 seconds in order to get his keen buff over here, there's just a hard lock synergy that's not working out for a lot of people. I've even seen reports of Bertrand's fourth skill overriding the benefit that the Celestials give. If you stand still, you gain magic attack. This is overriding it. So all that to say, I don't have all the details in front of me and I haven't reviewed them in depth because when I first saw them, I was like, yeah, I bet they'll be decent in a garrison and I bet they'll be decent in the field. But there is one other reason why it is that Bertrand and Tohar are really up against the ropes here. And that is the fact that by the time you enter the season where you can get them, there's a new policy called the Wellspring of Vigor, which gives you an extra 50 stamina. So what this means is that you don't need quite as many heroes because you're not likely to run out of stamina unless you have just gobs and gobs and gobs of troops, which most people do not. So if you're efficient with your troops, you don't really need to be running anything but the best that you can muster. And right now, for the field, that is Lily and Velen paired together. That's what it has been, and that's what it continues to be. Even the pet for Bertrand and Tohar is not particularly strong for the open field. Now, are these two going to be good in the garrison? I suspect they will. The other thing that just is so weird for Tohar, and by the way, I am still going to spin the wheel for Bertrand. I am still spinning this wheel. But the other thing that's weird for Bertrand, is what I meant to say, is that he's flying, right? But he really cares about all these sources of skill damage, and you have no flyer to pair him with that also gives lots of sources of skill damage. You've got epics in the form of Atheus, who's got one skill damage mechanism. So there's no synergy here really, besides the fact that they're both technically can fly. And then you've got Thea, where you know, like, hey, you would have hoped the legendary's got synergy, but like, sure, she's going to boost your skill damage, but she's not doing any skill damage at all, which also has no synergy with Bertrand. So I think that these two heroes with some tweaks could be strong. And I think that eventually they will be strong. And I think they may already be strong in a garrison context, but I don't know, and I haven't been able to test that. For now, we spin the wheel, hope they get good, and in a worst case, I'll have them in my roster if I want to run lots of mages sometime down the road, which like, probably that'll be a thing I want to do. So we'll go in now and pick up the bundles. To do this, I'm going to use my dragon tickets, which I purchased previously in the Pluto Mall. I covered this in a separate video. It's a pretty cool way to basically pre-purchase bundles. And for having done that, they give you typically in the realm of like 10% worth of extra vouchers. These are basically vouchers that exchange for the exact amount that they're worth. So for example, when I exchange here, this is a $100 voucher. Only can it be exchanged for a exactly $100 bundle like I've done here. But, if you just go buy one of those, at the time of this recording anyways, $100 bundles in the Pluto Mall, they also give you 10% extra. They give you a $10 voucher as well. So, do I want extra stuff? Yes. Yes, of course I do. Because I spend a lot in this game. So, let's spin the wheel for Bertrand, baby. How many of his skills do I have sitting around? Probably not any hero tokens at all. 0. All right, good. Makes it easier to keep track. So now we go in and we spin this bad boy. I'm going to be spinning him the full 200 times. And like I said, I just enumerated the reasons why I'm pretty worried about Bertrand. I also think the developers have a vested interest in his being made strong and relevant and people to be happy with him. So I'm feeling pretty good that he'll be made into the beast mage that we need. But look, I think the reality that everybody, at least I must acknowledge, is that a lot of players got into this season, they unlocked their Bertrand and they're like, wait, what? Huh? So that's kind of where we're at. All right. Now, on the topic of Tohar and the whole standing still thing, if you've played any amount of Rise of Kingdoms and you've had any exposure to commanders like Frederick I or Sargon, you would have known that that style of mechanic of kind of buffing yourself to then do damage over time can often be relatively weak. And the reason that it's weak is your enemy can just walk away. But Tohar has the extra disadvantage of not only can your enemy not move out of range, but you can't move. You have to stand still while you're channeling, which is really awkward. So it's even more disadvantaged than the commanders that people don't like from Rise of Kingdoms, because your enemy can walk away from you because you also must stand still. You can't even go to chase. It's channeling. So I would need to really study the logs to more deeply understand why it is that the relationship of these commanders, or really heroes, is not panning out the way that players had sort of hoped. But my hope would be that okay, if we're in a garrison situation and you're not going anywhere and your enemy's not going anywhere, that it could be pretty good. But the weird news about that is that okay, so can it beat a Sindrian and Freygar rally? Because we already have a really good archer rally. So if these two mages are not slapping, okay, could get pretty weird. And what's weird is that I thought Goresh and Chisgule would be a really good rally. I was hopeful it would be. And it is very good anti-swarm. And if you're playing, Roots of War, dude, that's great. It's very good. But in a situation where what you care about is actually your trade rather than anti-swarm control, I feel like Goresh and Chisgule are just kind of mid, weirdly enough. When we were rallying last season, we fell back onto Sindri and Freygar, and I did not see that one coming. I did not expect that. The last thing I thought I would be doing last season was rallying with Sindrian and Freygar, and there we were at a pass again. I was like, oh, hey, Chisgule, can you rally with your Sin Frey? What? So I rallied with Sin Frey, and by the way, I also used the Bloodblade banner, and I maxed it out, and I tested that versus the Gold Crest, and I was actually kind of disappointed that the Gold Crest seemed to perform better. And I know I paid to get the Gold Crest, so you'd think I'd be kind of hyped about it, but I would be more hyped if the artifact that's designed for rallying actually was BIS for rallying, personally. And I think it's just the passive buffs that you get from the 7.5% damage dealt and damage taken reduction that really just does all the difference there when we try to figure out why is it that it was doing so well. So I'm going to buy the extra 100 exactly like I said I would. I'm going to go in and pick these up, get the extra Bertrand tokens here. Happy to get those. At the end of the day, I think Bertrand will eventually be balanced to be strong. But I think he does need some buffs. Now, Would I rather that the developers release heroes weaker than they should be and they buff them? I think that's generally good, because the other way of doing things would be that you release them too strong and then you, I guess, have to nerf them. But like, that gets really weird in a game like this because people are like, dude, I spent money to get those. So I feel like the best situation is they enter the game and they're balanced. In the, ideal situation, if they enter the game and they're not balanced, they ultimately get balanced. And if they're too strong when they're released, then that just releases a sort of a whole new tier of power into the game, and you just kind of have to roll with it, right? So all that to say, like I said, I'm dropping the 200 spins on my Bertrand, but I haven't leveled him up. And I feel like that tells you what you need to know about Bertrand. It's like, I'm not even leveling him. Will I level him this season? Assuredly at some point. Do I plan to use him in the field? No. Actually, no. I do not. So what do I plan to use? Well, I started with Sindrian and Freygar because, obviously that's also your behemoth champion. So I did that. And by the way, in the Elite Frost Giant, I got first for DPS. Was it Elite Frost Giant? No, it was regular Frost Giant, maybe, where I got first for DPS. Elite Frost Giant, I got roasted by the laser. I got lasered! Okay, anyways, I got first for DPS in the regular Frost Giant. Dude, I have so much going on, I can't even keep it straight. So I got Sindri and Freygar, then I did Kanara and Hosk. And I did them together instead of Nico at the start of the season because I figure, holy moly! Oh my goodness gracious. That actually just happened. Oh my God. See, you just say good things about Bertrand and then here we are. That's a lot of Bertrand. Wow. That's very good. Good shot. This is good. Wow. I lost my train of thought. Right. So anyways, I did Hosk instead of Nico because I figure he's more versatile. So if I need to use him with mages or I need to use him somewhere, last season, I realized maybe I should have started the season by leveling up more heroes that could be used with more troop types. All right. Simple explanation. Now, as it turns out, I'm not going to have that problem this season because the stamina has been elevated by 50. So I thought I would need more versatility, but maybe I don't actually need more versatility. Whatever. So I did the Hosk this season. It's got good counterattack at least, right? In a worst case, I can go level up Nico. It's not the end of the world, right? So I have Lily Velen as well. So there's 3 marches. And then I think my last 2 marches are just going to be infantry. So we got Goresh and Skogul. And then I think I just do Madeline and Garwood again, weirdly enough. I just really think that's what I'm going to do. But I didn't start the season by leveling Madeline and Garwood. I started the season by leveling Ferondil and Thea. So those are going to be the 2 primaries for my flying cavalry marches that I'm going to run around with, which is a thing I've been doing for many seasons in a row now, that when a pass opens, I'll try to ambush people. And there are varying levels of success, but in prior seasons, I've had crazy levels of success with that. Look, it's a war game. People may think it's corny that you, or cheesy or lame that you ambush them, but look, it's in the game. So either lose to it or use it. Your call, right? I'm going to use flyers because they're good. And they're actually very fun. Very, 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 very fun. It's very fun. Dude, Spring Wardens are great. 10 out of 10, 11 out of 10. So good. Love it, man. Well, I went to Spring Wardens, never looked back. And especially now that I don't know, man, who you going to fly around with Bertrand? I honestly couldn't tell you where the big synergy is there. Maybe Thea? I guess Thea, Atheas, right? Anyways, so let's go now. We did our 200. I got more skills here probably than I could have fathomed. That triple 10 spot was the most insane pull I've ever done. Wow. So I got another 151 tokens. Honestly, 151 tokens is good, but not insane. As weird as that might sound, typically I might expect to get 135 tokens, maybe 130 tokens. So I'm not so far above the average that it's oh my gosh. But anyways, let's just lock these in. And after I lock these in, the funny question then becomes, all right, Cheesemeister, So what skill matters after this? And that's a great question. This second skill, we just talked about how it kind of doesn't matter because it's not working very well. So I think unironically, like you might want to go all the way to 4 stars before you put skills into him. Technically, I would think that you would actually want to put more skills in, like you'd really be interested in this skill in a perfect world. But because there's almost no ways to stack compound interest besides Tohar, I don't know. I mean, I'm not even planning to use him, so I guess it doesn't really matter all that much right now. We can give him another star level. I need to level him up before I can really go any further. Is what it is. Technically, I guess I could put levels onto him, but I'm going to save my... I'm just going to save the tomes, really. So that's where we land with Bertrand, all right? Now, there is a new artifact right around the corner, and I'm very, very hyped for it. If we just get a look at what that does real quick, am I going to go work on this thing? The Mirage Orb. Deals damage to the target legion, then knocks 2 enemy legions near the target airborne and deals diffuse damage. I mean, bro, that is so good. Now, and this is even like the base damage. It's not even the max damage. The only thing that's like kind of weird, this is every time your legion gains a buff through a hero skill, they deal 7% more artifact skill damage. But like this artifact doesn't even work if you're garrisoning. So like I'm struggling a little bit with, do I really want to spend the money on this? Do I really need this? I'm not even planning to use this guy. So it's kind of a very weird situation right now where I want this Mirage Orb. I guess technically I could use it instead of my maxed. I mean, I'm getting ahead of myself for like, the video that will be up in the channel a couple days. I could use it instead of the Terrifying Inferno, but I think I stick with the Terrifying Inferno for now. But like, do I really want to miss this opportunity to get this artifact? I mean, I already spent the money on this other artifact over here in a prior season, Breath of Gargantus. And last season, this thing sat on the bench. So like, I don't know, man. I don't know that I need a new artifact. I literally want to give the devs money every time a new artifact comes out. But I feel like the kit on that artifact, given the situation I'm in, it's very good. It's very good. Like, it really is very good. But can I justify it given that I'm not even using 2 mage marches this season and I already have a very costly artifact here? I don't know that I can. I don't know, man. I want to find a way. I don't know. Help me out. Leave a comment. All right. Help me find the justification for it. All right. If you enjoyed the vid, throw a like on here. Consider subscribing. I cannot believe that pull that I had. That was absolutely insane. Insane. Wow. I appreciate you. If you want to see my thoughts on Bertrand and Tohar and their skills when they were revealed, you can kind of compare to how it's actually played out. I feel like I was extremely complimentary toward how they would perform. And so I would say they are probably underperforming compared to how I expected they would perform. Garwood is a nice pull. I mean, I think I'm going to be working on him this season and using him. So that seems good. And then final gold key and we end the video. All right. Boom. Ooh, actually amazing. Dude. Can I actually? No, I can't put a skill on them. I'm so close to maxing Thea. 15 away, bro. So good. And then, dude, she's going to be shielding my flying pair, which is going to be sweet. Thea's great. Yeah, no, feeling very good about that, all right? I appreciate you. Check those cards in the end screen. Until next time, you have fun smashing the kingdom.